Imagine a rugged four-wheel drive vehicle with the room to seat 8 or 9 adults in real comfort, and also carry loads of luggage, limousine-like fittings and performance, and the ability to tow over 2.5 tons with ease. Not possible in one vehicle? Wrong. Let us introduce you to the all-new Holden Suburban. Quite simply, in terms of power, size, towing and carrying capacity, the Holden Suburban eclipses every other four-wheel drive on the face of the planet.
Hello, I'm Ian Ross. Behind me is the newest and biggest story of the year in the wagon and four-wheel drive market, the Holden Suburban. In America, this vehicle has been the most popular full-size four-wheel drive wagon for many years, and what you see here is the end product of about 60 years of testing and product refinement by Chevrolet. In all that time, the Suburban has offered US buyers an exclusive combination of carry-all, tow-all versatility that has never been equaled. This is the only vehicle able to seat 8 or 9 adults in comfort, and I mean in real comfort, with proper footwells and leg space, and still have room for over 1.3 cubic metres of luggage. Take out the rear seats and fold up the centre seats and you have a massive 4.25 cubic metres of space. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There's much more to this vehicle than just its size, so let's take a detailed look at it. We're going to have to examine the whole range to find out what is the right model for your specific application. So it's going to take about 15 minutes. Bear with me, and my apologies if I get a bit technical at times. The Suburban is so new to Australia, we have to make sure we present all the significant points. There are two series, differentiated by gross vehicle mass ratings and engine type. The petrol-powered 1500 series and the more heavy-duty diesel-powered 2500 series. Both the 1500 and 2500 series come in 3 trim levels: Suburban, Suburban LS and Suburban LT. So that's 6 models in all, 3 1500 petrols and 3 2500 diesels. They are all 4-door, 4-wheel drive automatic transmission wagons with rear access, a seating capacity for either 8 or 9 adults and an onboard cargo capacity of approximately 4 cubic metres, with the rear seat removed and the middle seat folded. Now, we need to fully understand how the various models line up. We really have 2 different vehicles here designed for 2 different applications. Consider it this way: the 1500 petrol is heavy duty and the 2500 with its diesel engine is super heavy duty with heavier componentry throughout. Both models have a fully welded ladder type channel design frame with a box front end section to support the engine and transmission, but the 2500 series has extra heavy duty transmission, axles, brakes and suspension, and steel 8-stud wheels which give it a higher ride height and wider track. And these all contribute to the massive 3,900 kilogram GVM and a curb weight of 2,942 kilograms, making it a superbly efficient and safe towing vehicle. But we will discuss the subject of towing later. There have been quite a few Chevrolet and GMC Suburbans imported direct from the USA in recent years, with local right-hand conversions. And while there's probably nothing wrong with these vehicles, please do not confuse them with the Holden Suburban. The Holden Suburban is factory built with right-hand drive, specifically for Australian conditions, and other Australian refinements include Bilstein gas shock absorbers, BF Goodrich all-terrain tyres, heavy-duty air cleaner, electrics and alternators, and batteries. We fitted dual batteries to all diesel models instead of the original American specs. The suspension has been extensively tuned and tested for the more trying Australian conditions, and the headlights rewired to the Australian standard. We need to look at the power plants in these vehicles to really understand why they are the most popular in their class in America and why they are in a class of their own in Australia. The 5.7 litre Vortec V8 petrol engine in the 3 1500 models develops 190 kilowatts of power at 4,600 RPM and 447 newton meters of torque at 2,800 RPM. And that's about 20% more power and torque than any existing petrol 4x4 wagon being sold in Australia at the moment. For all this, the engine is surprisingly efficient, giving a fuel consumption that averages out at about 14 litres per 100 k's on highway cycle, giving a range of around 1100 k's with the standard 159 litre tank. Do remember, of course, that fuel consumption depends on load, road conditions and the way you drive, so the figures I've quoted are only a guide. As you would expect, the engine is smooth and responsive, delivering its power effortlessly, and for the technically minded, here are a few of the reasons why. It has a two-piece intake manifold which helps the engine breathe more easily by reducing restrictions to incoming air. The sequential fuel injection system ensures that fuel delivery is precisely controlled, producing a smoother idle, lower emissions and increased power and torque. The injection system design also simplifies service, as its central injector unit can be replaced or serviced as a single unit. The 6.5 litre turbocharged V8 diesel was designed from the start for a turbo. It is not a tacked-on afterthought.
With a power rating of 145 kilowatts at 3,400 RPM and 583 newton meters of torque at 1,800 RPM, Suburban's turbo diesel engine is significantly more powerful than any of the competition.
This engine features electronically controlled fuel delivery, an indirect fuel injection system and drive-by-wire or electronically controlled throttle design, giving some impressive benefits, including engine overheating protection, enhanced idle quality, reduced noise and increased fuel economy. Fuel economy is particularly impressive at 12 litres per 100 k's on highway cycle, giving a range of 1,200 k's on the 159 litre tank. The fuel management system includes a double filtration unit, water separator and a fuel heater in one canister. The fuel heater substantially reduces exhaust smoking during cold starts, and black smoke under hard acceleration is also greatly reduced. The turbocharger is a completely integrated, electronically controlled Borg-Warner IHI system designed for responsive acceleration on demand without noticeable turbo lag, and featuring a wastegate on the exhaust side of the turbo that reduces boost pressure when maximum torque is obtained, thereby reducing stress on the internal engine components. Dual batteries are standard fitment with the diesel engine. Now, if you needed any extra convincing about the durability of both these engines, consider the service intervals. Normal grease and oil changes are scheduled for every 10,000 k's, but the first major service, depending on usage and driving conditions of course, is scheduled for 160,000 k's. In keeping with this, the extended life coolant has a scheduled maintenance interval of 5 years or 100,000 k's. The auto trans fluid also doesn't need replacing for up to 100,000 k's, and the petrol engine's platinum-tipped spark plugs are good for around 160,000 k's. You won't be spending much time in the dealership at this rate. However, if something does go wrong, you'll appreciate the second generation onboard diagnostics. The Suburban is fitted with a high-capacity powertrain control module, or PCM for short, which alerts the driver by illuminating a dashboard light when it detects a deterioration in the performance of any of the monitored systems. It then stores and retrieves diagnostic messages to help service technicians diagnose and fix problems quickly and accurately. Naturally, the Suburban comes with the normal 3-year or 100,000 K warranty and 3-year ultra roadside assistance. The Suburban is a big, powerful four-wheel drive wagon, and the drawback with some of these vehicles is that driving and ride comfort are sacrificed at the altar of brute power. This doesn't happen in the Suburban, and one of the reasons for this is the smooth matching of gearbox to engine. Both the 1500 and 2500 series Suburbans have a 4-speed electronically controlled auto transmission with overdrive. Transmission shift points and shift smoothness are controlled by 4 solenoids connected to the PCM, which acts as an interface between the engine and transmission to provide a virtually seamless powertrain. And the electronically controlled torque converter clutch allows gradual engagement for smoother drivability and fuel economy. The 1500 petrol transmission includes a second gear traction feature. By moving the selector to the drive 2 position, the driver can reduce torque to the wheels, increasing control on slippery surfaces. The 2500 diesel transmission is a heavier duty version to match the greater torque of the diesel. Both boxes have, as standard, the added safety of a brake transmission shift interlock that requires the driver to apply the brake pedal to shift from park to a driving gear. Incidentally, the diesel engine and transmission in the Suburban is pretty much the same configuration that GMC supplies for the Humvee military vehicle. I said it was tough. There is much discussion on the merits of the various four-wheel drive systems available today, and each and every one has strengths and weaknesses. But when it comes down to durability and ease of use, it is the part-time systems that win out. Full-time or constant four-wheel drive systems require expensive and complex components to operate and tend to wear out front axle parts and increase fuel consumption and driveline vibration, when four-wheel drive is rarely required in normal driving. The four-wheel drive system in the Suburban is ideally suited for the vehicle's intended usage, predominantly on-road, but with the option of instant four-wheel drive selection whenever it is really needed. So, all the good bits and none of the bad. The Suburban runs a part-time system called InstaTrack, which allows the driver to switch from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive high ratio on the fly or on the move, at up to around 100 km per hour, at the push of a button on the dash. When you couple this system with the limited slip differential that is standard on all models, you have a four-wheel drive capability that is as good, if not better, than just about all other systems on the market. There's also a button-activated low-range four-wheel drive option for slow, safe negotiation of slippery or steep slopes, and naturally, the vehicle must be stationary to shift between high and low range. The Suburban is big, there's no question of that, but don't let this lead you to think that it's not a capable off-road machine. Not only are the engines massive, I mentioned the Humvee before, but the suspension matches everything else about the vehicle. If we look under the vehicle, we see just what I mean. From the front, you notice first that the Suburban has that essential piece of equipment for off-road vehicles, the tow hook. It has two, here and here. Front suspension with independent torsion bars attached to the lower control arms and a stabiliser bar. The front differential is mounted to the frame with rubber bushings to isolate driveline noise and vibration, and you can see the Suburban's deep C-channel rails and cross bracing that run the length of the vehicle, and how the protrusion of the transmission, transfer case and drive shafts below the body is kept to a minimum for added protection in off-road conditions. The rear suspension comprises a rigid axle with limited slip differential and variable rate two-stage multi-leaf springs with stabiliser bar. And last but not least is the heavy-duty tow bar that is a standard fitment to all Suburbans. As I've said before, the Suburban suspension has been especially selected and tuned for Australian conditions. The Suburban tends to look as if it has a lower ground clearance than other four-wheel drives, but this is because the wheelbase is longer and the chassis is specifically designed to allow for legroom inside and a lower entry level for passengers. This is achieved by the unique drop-down chassis rails that allow the body to fit around the chassis rather than sitting on top of it. The clearance under the petrol 1500 is 210mm, the same as a Land Cruiser. And the clearance under the diesel 2500 is a bit less at 170mm because of the heavy-duty rear differential. Overall height is 1882mm, so yes, it will fit in most garages and car parks. Passenger and driver safety is well catered for, as all models are equipped with ABS braking and a front disc rear drum system with audible wear sensors to alert the driver when brake pad maintenance is needed. There is a driver airbag, and the body contains a reinforced safety cage to protect the passenger compartment and controlled crush zones, front and rear, designed to absorb the energy of a collision in a controlled manner. Impact beams are standard in all side doors, and the steering column is the energy absorbing type. Well, that's most of the mechanicals covered, so we ought to get inside the vehicles and see what makes them so popular in the States. Well, room has to be the first thing. We don't say that this is the largest four-wheel drive on the face of the planet for nothing. The Suburban is almost a metre longer than its closest rival in Australia, the Land Cruiser, and with a wheelbase that's almost half a metre longer, you can start to appreciate how comfortable the ride might be. It's wider as well, and that's obvious looking at this particular Suburban, which is an LS diesel. You can see that it's well appointed with plenty of room for three across the front, and you can also see that it's not a bench seat, but a 60-40 split, with two generous buckets on the outside and a middle seat that converts into a very practical console. All covered with quality Scotch-guarded cloth. No gear lever means the centre passenger has generous legroom, and that's a first in Australia. The auto shift is nicely positioned over here to the right of the steering wheel. The second row is similar. The middle row also has a 60-40 split to facilitate entry into the third row. You can see that access is easy and there is real legroom for adults. I'm 1.8 metres tall and you can see that this is comfortable and there is enough headroom to wear a good American hat. Sitting here, it seems a good time to show you a unique feature of the Suburban, which I think puts it into the limousine class. In most vehicles, the rear passengers get the leftovers from the front, but not in the Suburban. Cup holders, armrests, a centre console, and independent air conditioning. Yes, all Suburbans feature as standard 2 separate air conditioning units. One for the front and one for the back. You can see the controls and 4 outlets for the passengers up here and here. And just to complete the limo image, I'll just change over to the top of the range LT while you look at the available seating configurations. As you can see, the petrol range has cloth 60/40 split front seat in the entry-level Suburban, cloth front bucket seats in the LS, and full leather front buckets in the LT. The diesel range differs in that it has the 60/40 split cloth in both the entry and LS, and leather buckets in the LT. There are 3 models that seat 8 and 3 that seat 9, a good mix for all applications. This is the top of the range LT petrol model. 3 rows of full luxurious leather. 6-way power adjusters are standard on the front bucket seats, as are the front and overhead consoles. This centre console is very comprehensive. Pivoting writing surface, cassette storage, removable coin tray, rear storage drawer, and cup holders for both front and rear passengers. While I'm sitting here, there are a couple of very useful driver aids as well. I mentioned the electronically adjusted seats on the LT, but all models have adjustable steering column, and in addition to having an 8-point compass in the rear view mirror, the mirror automatically reduces glare from following vehicles while maintaining maximum vision. All LS and LT models have power windows, leather-bound steering wheel, colour-keyed carpet, cloth and carpet inserts in the doors, and lit red and white door reflectors. The LS and LT models have remote keyless entry as well. All Suburbans come fitted with Goodrich all-terrain tyres, fitted to 16-inch steel rims with chrome dress rings, except the petrol LS and LT, which have 16-inch alloy wheels. And no matter what the trim level, storage and convenience items abound. The glove box lid includes cup holders, while the door trim on all models features moulded armrests, map pockets and speakers. The Eurovox AM/FM stereo cassette sound system is Australian, CD compatible and security coded, with 8 speakers in the LS and LT models and 4 in the base model. Let's not forget the features that are major reasons for owning the Suburban: loadability and towing ability. Come down to the back of the vehicle and I'll show you what I mean. The top of the range LT models have lift glass and drop down rear doors, while the LS and base model have centre split doors. You can see that there is a large amount of room behind the third seat. Here I'll show you just how many suitcases it will hold. That's 7 suitcases. No other four-wheel drive wagon with 3 rows of seats can take that amount. Now, unlatch the rear seat. It's designed to be easily removed when not needed, and you have a huge amount of load space, over 4 cubic metres if you fold the middle seat forward. Notice how easily this happens and how you end up with a flat floor for efficient loading. There is more load space in here than a lot of 1-ton vans. Biggest on the planet is no idle boast with Suburban. This is probably the right time to mention vehicle payload. Vehicle payload is the amount any particular vehicle is engineered to carry and can be easily checked in most vehicle brochures. What any prospective buyer must be aware of is that with some vehicles, it is impossible to fill the vehicle with passengers and fuel, which both form part of this figure, without exceeding the manufacturer's figure, let alone any luggage you may want to include. If we do the calculation for Suburban, however, we can see that it is properly set up and has plenty to spare for the essential luggage.
Now, as I said before, Suburban comes standard with a heavy-duty tow bar. Unlike some other manufacturers whose towing specifications are at odds with state laws, we at Holden prefer to keep it simple, straightforward and safe, so the recommended towing weight of the Suburban is conservatively specified at around the weight of the vehicle, 2.7 tonnes, which still gives it the highest legal towing weight of any four-wheel drive wagon in Australia. More than enough to tow a large boat, double horse float or a double axle caravan. And with the huge power of either the petrol or diesel engines, plenty of grunt to maintain a decent cruising speed.
Well, that's the new Holden Suburban, big on power, space and four-wheel drive capability, but comfortable and refined enough to take over from any limousine in town, and with more seats. Surprisingly easy to drive, and with the power and weight to qualify as a heavy-duty towing vehicle.
The new Holden Suburban is the largest four-wheel drive on the face of the planet and is only available from selected Holden dealers. Here is a list now. You can take down the details or ring us on 1-800-629-222 or access our website